Hey y'all, I'm James Roy, and this is my lovely wife Courtney.
Hello.
And this is The Noise Date Night, a podcast where we talk about our weekly date night movie selections and give you the scoop. So let's get right into it. We're changing up our opening segment. We're going in a new direction. We're going to do a versus type segment where we compare things and talk about it. So
nice.
We'll be doing that, and then we will get into our movie review of this week's movie, King Richard. So let's get started. I felt like I'd take a safe path, I guess, in my eyes, and I picked two things that are easily compared and contrasted that both me and Courtney are well and familiar with to the same degree. So it's The Office versus Friends. And so personally, I'm a bigger fan of The Office than Friends.
Same.
I definitely think that it's more a product of a time that I'm familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I think Friends is relatable. I think in the later seasons that the conflict between Rachel and Ross's relationship kind of runs its course and they continue to ride it.
Mm-hmm.
So
you always know they're going to be endgame. So it's like you just have to stick it out to watch the end, you know?
Well, yeah, but I guess it's hard to compare them directly because they're two different kind of shows.
Yeah, as far as like sitcom comedy style. Yeah, I mean, I like The Office, although I'm not going to lie. I've watched all of Friends all the way through. And
I've watched it all too, but
I'm only on season 5 of The Office.
Well, you're about as far as you need to be to have a good feel for The Office.
And I do like The Office. I think when I watch The Office, I like belly laugh so hard. Like, I think it's super funny.
It's great, but
I am
also
more
can be
into
super
that
cringe.
Yeah, it is cringe, but that's what makes it funny.
Exactly.
Like those uncomfortable moments, which is all the time.
Who's your favorite? So
like most of the episodes they're trying to cancel.
let's do it. So for Friends,
uncomfortable.
For Friends, who is your favorite character in Friends?
Chandler.
And now, which character do you see yourself in the most in Friends?
Chandler. I'm not a Rachel, and I'm not Monica.
My answers are the same as you. I think I'm a hybrid.
I am kind of like Monica.
I like
her vibe, but I guess her past isn't like my past. It's more like Chandler's past.
Yeah.
And maybe your past is kind of like Monica's past.
I feel that.
But then you're like Chandler.
I think that I'm more like a hybrid between Chandler and Ross.
You are kind of like Ross sometimes.
As much as I'd like to think that I'm Chandler because Chandler's the funniest, I don't think my sense of humor is at that high of a level. It's good. I think I'm a funny person. And and my wife will back me up on that.
I do think you're funny.
In her unbiased opinion. But I do think that I would see a lot of myself in Ross's kind of what was it? How do you put it? When I like state things as fact and I like it's not that it needs defending because I have said it.
You know that it is. And that's all that matters. And I'm like, but did you experience that? Have you looked it up? Who told you this? Yeah, I think my humor is more like Chandler, but I guess my vibe is more Monica.
Okay, now in contrast, in The Office, who is your favorite character?
That's hard because I love Jim as a character, so therefore I love Pam because I like them two together. But then I also like, I don't know, like they all kind of rotate for me. Like at one point it was Stanley. He just had a lot of one-liners. And then it was,
have you lost your mind, boy? Because I'll find it for you.
And then Callie, because she's Callie, and I just love Mindy Kaling. Oh my gosh, I fell in love with her.
First of all, how dare you?
So, I don't know. I think the side characters kind of like get up there on a few episodes for me. But Jim and Pam are my fave.
And which character do you see yourself in?
I guess Pam.
Okay.
And Kelly mix.
I can't
because I could be a little extra like Kelly and love, the the hot goss or like the new scoop on things. I don't like gossip, like the word gossip, but I like, like what's new and flashy. I don't know. So I kind of like her in a sense, but the dry humor, I totally have that like Pam. So, and I appreciate it like Pam does too. So
that makes sense. That was my guess. Like that was what I thought you were gonna say. For me, my favorite character has changed a lot. So I follow a lot of those Office pages on Facebook, and a lot of them give interesting perspectives on like, on initial watches, you're like, Jim's a good guy.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be rooting for Jim, and then they like describe the characters. They're like, so they really wanted us to root for Jim over Dwight, and it's oh yeah, I kind of see that. Yeah. I think that Dwight is probably, aside from Dwight, is the most essential character when we factor in all 9 seasons.
Yeah, he's great.
But I'd say that my favorite character is probably Michael. I think, and I feel like that's pretty typical. I feel like I just picked like the one that everyone else picks. But
yeah. No, Michael's cool. I also feel like I kind of talk like Stanley sometimes too. So that's why I like him.
I just don't want to be that guy that picks Jim, because guys that pick Jim are the kind of guys that like think they are Jim.
Yes,
and like
I agree.
I don't
agree
think
on
I'm
that.
Jim.
I agree on that for sure.
But if I had to pick a character I see myself in most, it's probably, not gonna lie, early seasons, Andy Bernard. Like,
yeah.
Like when he comes into the picture, that's me.
Absolutely.
I think so. Yeah. There's plenty of options there. I think that I had my fair share of picks for who I could have picked, but Andy Bernard, the Nard dog.
Yeah,
is the guy.
Totally Andy.
But on that note, let's get into our review of King Richard.
Let's do it.
This week we watched King Richard, a movie about Richard Williams, the father of Serena and Venus Williams, the greatest female tennis players ever to pick up a racket. For the actors, we have Will Smith. In case if you knew anything about this movie, you probably knew that Will Smith was in it.
Yeah.
Playing Richard Williams. We have on John Yu. I really am sorry. On John Yu Ellis playing Brandy Williams, which is Richard Williams' wife. You've got a couple of the tennis coaches throughout their time. John Bernthal plays Rick Macy, and Tony Goldwyn played Paul Cohen. And then you've got Demi Singleton and Sanya Sidney playing Serena and Venus Williams, respectively. The movie had a $50 million budget, and so far it has grossed about $5.4 million, which I think I would have expected. That was about what I had in my mind when I was looking for that number.
Yeah, it falls into the feel-good type movie, so not everybody wants to go see that.
Exactly, but it was directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green, and I mean, just surface level stuff. I thought it was really good. I thought that if nothing else, Will Smith carried that movie. This is one of his more Oscar level performances.
Oh yeah, he did amazing.
It was I thought, yeah, definitely one of the better movies that I've seen of this style. But how did you feel about it? Because I thought it was really good.
I thought it was really good. I think we could compare it to like Respect and put it in that same category, because it's about like a real family. It's biopic, and kind of along the lines of like drama. But yeah, no, I thought it was really well done. I thought it was really good. It's a good, clean movie too, if you're looking for, something clean to watch. It is PG-13, but I thought just watching the story of these girls was just really inspiring, and it was really well done.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the PG-13 rating comes from a lot of what you'd expect to see in a movie that's covering the life of people that grew up in Compton. There's some violence.
Yeah.
And then I think later on in the movie there's some I wouldn't say it's violence, more of like a domestic dispute.
Yeah.
Not domestic violence, but I mean other than that, it was pretty a pretty feel good movie.
Yeah, no, it was great.
But I think that those moments were necessary to tell the whole story.
Absolutely.
So at this point, I'm going to issue the spoiler alert. So unless you are someone who has read Richard Williams' biography, someone who's followed the life of Venus and Serena Williams closely, or someone who just doesn't really care to have a life that's already happened be spoiled for them in movie form, this is your point to get out. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. This isn't one of those ones that I'd say a spoiler alert was super important, but I still like to give it. So let's get into
I think
it.
they get it.
I don't think I need to be too specific because honestly, anyone who grew up watching Venus and Serena Williams, this is going to just have a lot of little pieces in there about like how they were raised, and it might tell their perspective of the story. But for the most part, I don't know. I'm not worried about spoiling anything or whatever. So let's get into it. So it starts off with their early life.
Mm-hmm.
They train hard, and it just hits up with that where Richard Williams is taking them out training all the time. They just kind of hop in the van, go train, do school. It's very much a rise and grind kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
He is the first sequence we're shown is him talking to a bunch of well-known tennis coaches, being like, "Hey, I got the 78-page plan. My daughters are the next great tennis stars, and you should train them for free because they're from Compton and they don't have enough money to pay someone to train them."
Yeah.
So 1 minute. Is it cutting in and out for you?
No.
Okay. Then maybe it's good. Who knows? Sorry, technical difficulties on the Noise Day night. So it's showing their like struggle to get coaching and like kind of work their way in, and then there's a confrontation where they practice on this court in Compton. It's just not great. And these guys keep hollering at their older sister, and Richard Williams, a man who's been very disrespected his entire life. As he said in the movie, ain't nobody ever respect Richard Williams, but they're gonna respect y'all. So he has a confrontation and gets punched out by some gangbangers out there by the court. And a lot of the early part of the movie is just the showing how they worked really hard and how Richard Williams had a plan. The major uptick is like a little bit in. He manages to pull a coach. So they've kind of gone back and forth. They haven't had a coach. They've been really getting after it, kind of getting deeper into the backstory.
Yeah.
And then enter Paul Cohen, the first coach, agrees to take them on after they both try out, but he only agrees to take on one of them. As a part of his plan, Richard Williams put Venus in there, and Serena Williams was not given any formal coaching. She was coached by her mother.
Yeah.
Eventually, the decision is made to put them into juniors tennis because that's the path to get up to the top.
Well, not put them, put Venus.
Well, put Venus in. Serena eventually gets in on her own will, but so they put Venus in juniors, and she's crushing it, 63-0. And then all of a sudden, Richard Williams decides to pull her out. This kind of gets into the point where a lot of people are probably familiar with the story if they were alive at the time or if they've watched any sort of documentary. Richard Williams was all about his kids getting their education, being normal kids. He said they can go pro after they've lived a life, because once you go pro, that's kind of you, right?
Yeah.
So he pulls them out. Paul Cohen drops them, and then he calls up Rick Macy and kind of swindles him into becoming their coach by withholding information.
Yeah.
So he's all the way out in Florida, and he kind of gets them to sign this deal. And Rick Macy's the kind of guy who does deals where it's like, I get a certain percentage of whatever you make in your career if you succeed, kind of like betting on himself, essentially.
Yeah.
And so they sign up the deal. They present a deal of their own where they're like, we want a family travel trailer to travel across the country. We want our own house. You get the whole family with this. But he didn't really let him in on it until they got there that she wasn't going to play juniors, which when he talked to other tennis coaches was the big holdup, was that no one was going to coach her if she wasn't playing juniors, because at the time that was the path to the pros.
Yeah.
Now Rick Macy was the coach of, I can't remember her name, but it was a young tennis prodigy at the time. And
what, Capriati or something like that?
Capriati, there we go. That was the name. And so he was like, we're just putting her on the Capriati path. And he's like, well, actually, I forgot to tell you, but we're pulling her out of competition until she's ready to go pro. And so it shows this whole sequence where like Richard Williams is pulling him out of practice. taking him to Disney World. He's basically blocking reporters from asking them questions that are too difficult, kind of sheltering them.
Yeah.
And then it culminates in a moment where Venus like was told she was going to be able to compete, and then Richard said no, that's it, that's all over, that's not happening. And then they have this moment where they kind of bond, and Richard Williams explains himself. He says that when I was growing up, I was in a time where segregation was a thing. You couldn't touch a white man, and I did at one point on accident, and my dad ran in the other direction, and I got beat up for it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to be that dad that was running in the other direction whenever anything was happening for you. So everything I've done has been to be here for you.
Yeah.
And so he eventually lets her compete. He shows kind of a relinquishing of control right before she competes in this big tournament, her first pro tournament. She meets with Nike. They offer a $3 million deal. She turns it down, says she wants to ride on her skills, try and get something better. She ends up going toe-to-toe with the number one tennis player in the world. And honestly, now I don't remember the name of that tennis player either.
She was from Spain.
But she's from Spain, number one tennis player in the world. And Venus is crushing her, really getting it. Just like through one set, just like swept her. And this girl hops on or says she needs to take a bathroom break. Apparently it's a common tactic in tennis because you can take like an untimed break. And so it felt dirty. And I think that if I was that girl, I would feel like I was being painted. Because, I don't know about everyone else in the theater, but I was like, wow, she really sucks. I understand.
It was like a bad move on her end.
No, I understand competitive edge, but, she, did that and took all the... it's like icing the kicker in the NFL, but, longer time. She literally just paused the game and just, let all the momentum die.
Yeah.
And then came back and swept her in 2 sets. And I was like, that made me think less of that person. But I mean, overall, at that point, we kind of reached the point where Richard Williams has a side conversation with Venus Williams, or with Serena, getting them mixed up. And Serena Williams, he explains the plan where he's like, this was always the plan. I knew you'd be able to take being in Venus's shadow. And honestly, I had Venus being number one in the world, first black woman in the world being number one in tennis, but I had you being the greatest of all time. And so of the 78-step plan that and predictions that Richard Williams made, most of them have come true. And those were 2 big ones that they emphasize in the movie.
Yeah.
And so after that, you kind of get the typical end of movie, credits are rolling, here's where they are nowadays. This is what's happened in their life. And then my favorite part, honestly, was that they gave us a side-by-side view of their lives. I don't really know how to put it, but that we got real video.
Yeah, like a montage of their real life.
And so we got to see
home videos. And
honestly, throughout the movie, I thought Will Smith was just being goofy, until I found out that Richard Williams was from Louisiana, and then I was like, okay, well, why is he out in California with that accent? But then they showed the video clips of Richard Williams, and I was like, oh, wow. Will Smith nailed that role.
Yeah, he did it so well.
He really did it. But at that end, they kind of go over what's happened, what's going on. My favorite little factoid was, so Venus took that bet on herself and didn't accept the $3 million, and then 3 years later signed a deal with Reebok for $12 million. So she was willing to take that chance, and it paid out.
Yeah, and she was so young when she said no to Nike.
But
was
yeah,
awesome.
I think a lot of people's qualms with this movie, just to cover shortly before we get into our Negative Nancy segment, was that they were like, well, isn't this supposed to be about Venus? Why are they making it this thing where it's a man's fault that 2 women had success? And I was like, I mean, I don't know. It's about their dad, and that's cool. He was a big part of that, but it was also directed, or the executive producers were Venus and Serena, and every member of that family was consulted before that movie came out. So if they didn't think it was going to be a good product, they probably would have canned it. So I thought it was really good. I think that it gave us a behind the scenes look. And I think for some people that were living at that time that maybe had a negative view of Richard Williams, maybe they kind of got to see his side of it going into like, everything that happened. And like, I don't know, maybe that's just my thing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think any athlete, like, when you play at like a level of excellency like that, you see where you've come from and you kind of pay, respect to the ones who have helped you get there. And I think that's exactly what they were trying to do in this movie.
yeah. So on that note, we're going to go over how everyone viewed this movie. Courtney's going to bring up the negative comments. We've got our Negative Nancy segment where we go over every 1-star, well, not every, but the entertaining 1-star reviews.
Like, I'm not reading all of them.
I was like, we could be here a while.
No thanks.
We go over the 1-star reviews because it turns out people that hated the movie probably have a lot to say about it. So what do you got, Courtney?
Yeah, someone wrote, and this is just really interesting, talk about stealing your daughter's thunder. I didn't like the Williams sisters before the movie. Not sure why they went to go see it in the first place then. Now I don't like their dad. Congrats, Will Smith. You an awful actor. This dad was worse than Tiger Woods. What? Tiger Woods' dad. Was Tiger Woods' dad like awful?
I don't know.
We'll have to watch his documentary now.
One, who doesn't like the Williams sisters?
Yeah, and why would you go watch them if you don't like the Williams
and two,
sisters?
Yeah, why would you watch it?
You know it's about them. Like, that's why I went, because I like them. So, anyways, okay. This one said, there is no amount of money that my family would take in order to let Smith butcher our life stories. The script is utter nonsense. If you look at the real life story, it is nothing like the wishy-washy film version. The film seems so long. It's like it goes on for hours, and I sat there wishing it would conclude. Well, are you Venus Williams? Are you Serena Williams? Did you live on their block?
Well, and to be fair, any true story there's very few true stories I've ever heard that I thought, yeah, you could translate that word for word into a Hollywood movie and it would be interesting. So there's probably some element of it that was made like very, like, I don't know, Hollywood, made for Hollywood that may not have been 100% like accurate.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and the last one I'm going to read, it says, this was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. How did they come up with this would be a good movie? Very predictable. And just like every other I'm not famous, so want my children to be famous movie. I mean, in that regard, I feel like he was trying to come up with a life for them that he didn't have, and he saw their talent and he helped cultivate that. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, he told them
I don't
that
think he
point
necessarily
blank.
was like, they're going to be famous and I'm going to do everything in my power to make them famous. He would ask them all the time, like, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be?
Exactly.
And they would say, like, I want to be the best tennis player in the world. I want to be the first female black tennis player, or whatever they would say. And it was like, you could totally obviously tell that that was the dream for Venus and Serena, and that was their like vision, so to speak. And he was just kind of like helping make that happen.
Well, and anyone who knows anything about anything, maybe not that, but anyone who's ever like competed, understands that like your parents can want you to be good at something or put you in something as much as they want.
Yeah.
But if you don't want it, it ain't happening.
Exactly. And I think like these comments, I don't know if these people have ever played sports in their life, but sports is just such a different world. And if like you're in it, you get it. And it's like, yeah, they're going to be hard on you. Like your coach is going to be hard because he's trying to push you and he's trying to grow you. But I don't think at any point was he ever crossing the line, kind of like how the neighbor called the cops on him and made it seem like
exactly.
he was. I was like, okay, they were practicing the rain. I've played softball games numerous times in the rain. And it wasn't like I felt like I was being like mentally, abused or being neglected. I felt like, okay, like we can do this. This is not like lightning and thunder, but it's a little rain.
I think it comes down to dedication. And I think that was a different time. And that nowadays, some people view pushing yourself past the point that you believe you are capable of as abuse, when realistically it's a necessary thing
for growth,
to grow and to see what you are capable of.
Absolutely.
If you're not falling out and like if you finish a workout and you're like, wow, that was a breeze, or like you kind of feel a little sore and you're like, wow, I might feel that in the morning, you probably didn't like leave your all on the court.
No.
So like
No.
to some extent, someone has to bring that out of you, and the fact that it was their father,
Yeah.
I think,
I
is
think
what
so.
bothers people. I don't know.
I think people thought this was going to be more or less like Venus and Serena, like growing up and going to school and seeing their personal lives. But if you like a sports movie, I would categorize this as a sports drama. Absolutely. It is revolved around the sport for sure.
I would say so.
Yeah.
But what are IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, and all that?
Yeah, I mean, they're in the 7s. They have a green score, which is pretty good. 7.6 for users, so like people generally liked it, which is great. Metascore's at a 71, which is pretty high. Like majority of the critics gave it like an 80, and this is out of 100, by the way. Only a few gave it a 60, but that was the lowest.
This seems like a critical darling too. It seems like the kind of movie that the crowd might not be super into.
I think if you're into the genre of like drama and sports, you're gonna like it. If you're into movies about people's real lives, if you're a fan of the Williams sisters, they were executive producers, so obviously they had a big part in it. They also said that they were on set numerous times, that the other sisters were on the set as well, giving their input and making sure that it was depicted accurately. So I appreciate that a lot, because really people don't have to share their lives with us at all. So this could have just been a made up story, and I still would have thought it would be a great movie. So thank you for letting us into your world.
No, I agree. And then the Rotten Tomatoes score was 91. I'm pretty sure that's audience score. It could be critics. I didn't click on the link, but
people liked it. So
people liked it.
Yeah.
So now let's see if we liked it. So babe, I'll let you go first on a scale of 1 to 7.
Ooh.
I know you love the scale that we rate movies on.
It's so great.
It's amazing.
I would say, as far as like being in the realm of like respect and other dramas that we've seen so far, this was for me one of the better ones. So I'm going to give it a 5.
No, yeah, I was thinking 5 too, just in the grand scheme of things. It feels weird to put it above Eternals but
they're just different genres.
But it's different genres. Yeah. So that one of these days
also,
I'll have to like document.
The pace of King Richard is way better than the pace of Eternals.
100%.
I never felt like I was going to fall asleep in King Richard. So
I'll have to document what scores we put on everything eventually.
Yeah, and then you can give like a little bubble and be like, respect, like for the genre we're doing that week.
We'll do a Venn diagram.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if that's necessary.
But on that note, I guess we'll get into.
What did you give it?
Oh, I told you I gave it a 5.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
No, yeah. On that note, we can get into our closing segment.
All right.
All right, y'all. So for our closing segment, we're kind of changing the format a little bit. There's a lot of change in this episode. You'd think it's 2008 with as much change as there is in this episode.
Must have been bored today.
But so instead of calling out a specific movie for next week to review, we're just going to list the movies that are coming soon that we'd like to review. And then who knows, in the future we could put out a poll and ask y'all what we should review. But in general, there will be a review happening. So these are all movies that are either out or coming out soon that we would like to review. So coming soon, we have House of Gucci, which I know me and Courtney are both really excited about. That's probably going to be our next review, but I don't want to guarantee it because, like I said, this is kind of an open-ended thing. Encanto also comes out the same day. It's Disney's latest movie, so obviously we want to see that.
Yep.
And then in December, we've got West Side Story and Spider-Man, No Way Home, and also Sing 2, which will probably be our Christmas movie. But also another movie that's in there is that's come out. I think it's already out. Ghostbusters Afterlife. And that one looks pretty interesting. I read an article that said it's projected to gross about 40 million opening weekend, which is interesting because I was viewing it in the frame of the female Ghostbusters movie. So I just thought it wasn't going to be that good, but we might have to check that one out. Probably have to do a review on it. But yeah, those are all the movies. So let us know what you think about that list. This has been The Noise Date Night. I have been James Roy. And this has been my lovely wife, Courtney.
Danielle.
Danielle. And thanks for tuning in. Check us out next week. We come out Thursday nights or Thursday mornings. Thursdays.
Did we change that too?
Thursdays. No, that's not changing. But like, comment, subscribe,
Yeah.
follow us on all our social medias, and
Mhm.
tell your friends about us. Yeah.
Let us know what you think.
Anything else to add, babe?
What movie did you watch this week?
There we go. What movie did you guys watch this week? Let us know in the comments below.
All right. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving, happy Turkey Day. Watch the parade and stuff.
Give thanks to God for all that He's given you.
From whom all good things flow.
Yep.
Till next time. Peace.
Bye.